Hey everyone, this is Teresa at Highland Blueberry Farm in Stockton Springs, Maine, and today we're going to talk about the eastern white pine tree. That is the Maine state tree here, and we're going to talk about its pine needles. We're going to talk about why we would harvest pine needles, what it's good for, and how to make a tincture or a tea. So stick around, because we're going to talk more about it. All right, well, let's get into this then. These are the eastern white pine needles. The eastern white pine is specific to the north. If you're in the south, please identify your trees, because in the south they have a tree, I believe it's the Joshua tree or the Jacob tree, pine tree, and those pine needles, those are not going to be used for medicine. They're poisonous. But the eastern white pine, the pine trees that you find up north, these pine needles make excellent medicine. And why do they make excellent medicine? Because in these needles are suramin or shikimic acid. Shikimic acid was what the pharmaceutical product Tamiflu was made from. And they took that off the market. They no longer have that on the market. Now they have another product, not sure what it is. But we still have the shikimic acid in the pine needles, and we should be using this to make medicine from. People use this to make a tea. I make a tea out of this. I can make a hot brew, or I can make a cold brew tea. If I'm going to use the cold, I'm going to use that because they specifically want the vitamin C. Once you start heating the water and heating the needles, then your vitamin C is going to come get damaged. So you're not going for the vitamin C on a hot brew. What you're going for is the shikimic acid or the suramin. And so it depends on what you're looking for. If you're just looking to boost your vitamin C, I would do a cold brew where you take the water, and you want to make sure that you've got either a good well water or spring water or distilled water. You want a good water. You don't want a city water with the chlorine in it. If I'm going to make a cold brew, I'm going to take 1 to 2 tablespoons per every 1 cup of warm water, warm tap water. I'm going to cut them up. I'll take a pair of scissors, I'll just cut them like this, take the pine needles and cut them. And then I'm going to do 1 to 2 tablespoons, put it in the pint jar with 8 ounces of water, or a pint, 2 cups of water. And then I would do 4 tablespoons of the pine needles. Then you're going to cap it and let it sit on your counter overnight. And that will give you a cold brew, so that you're now extracting the vitamin C. But if you want to go for the shikimic acid, then you're going to do a hot brew. So you just do the same process, but you just boil the water. And after the water's boiled, you take the water off the stove, you put your pine needles in there. You're going to, if you have 2 cups of water, 1 pint, you're going to do 4 tablespoons of pine needles. And then you're going to take the pine needles and let them steep off the heat 20 minutes or overnight. And then you'll strain the needles off, cap it, you keep it in the refrigerator and just drink on it during the day. People take the shikimic acid, especially if they've got colds, flus, if they have shedding from something that harmed them, that came along with C19. then you would have the pine needle tea. You could do the pine needle tea. And so that's one way of taking the medicine. The other way I'm going to show you is to actually make a tincture. Pine needles are high in vitamin C and vitamin A. In fact, the pine needles have 4 to 5 times more vitamin C than orange juice. That's pretty powerful. And so if you're in a state that has the eastern white pine or the red pine, you probably should go out and identify. Make sure you do your research. I'm just telling you what I do and what works for me. But you should go out, identify your tree, and then look at making either a tea or a tincture from it. So remember, cold brew preserves the vitamin C, hot brew extracts more shikimic acid and suramin. So you want to try to harvest your fresh needles. That's best. But if you need to, you can harvest the needles, you can dry them, and then you're going to keep them in a cool, dark place if they're dry. If you keep them fresh, then you're going to put them in the freezer for 4 to 6 months. And that way, if you're sick, you're not out traipsing in the woods trying to find harvest the pine needles, or get somebody who loves you to go out and harvest those pine needles. But if you have them in the freezer, then you're ready for when you are sick, and then you'll be able to make your tea. So those are 2 ways to be able to do that. The Latin name for the pine needle, the eastern white pine, is Pinus strobus. Pinus strobus. And so I'll get that written up in the YouTube video. We're going to use the needles of the eastern white pine. When I go and harvest from the actual tree, I like a good pair of scissors, and all I'll do is I'll cut the needles off of the branch. What I'm leaving on the branch is probably about 2 inches of the needle, but it's also right at the end, because the needles come in a cluster of 5, and this is another way of identifying that you've got the eastern white pine, is that the needles are going to be in a cluster of 5 needles. And at the end of those 5 needles, there's going to be, where it attaches to the tree, there's going to be a little connector to the tree and the needles. There's a lot of terpene or turpentine in that little end. So I'm going to cut that off. I'm not going to put that in my tincture. Turpentine doesn't hurt you unless you have large quantities. And if you're making a tincture and you're doing this as medicine, you don't want to have that in there. You want to cut that out. You really are going for the vitamin C, and you're going for the shikimic or acid or the suramin. When I do a tincture, I'm always going to harvest fresh. I'm not using dried. I only make folk medicine with fresh product. And the good thing about the pine needles is that even in the wintertime, I can go out and harvest this, and that's fresh, right? But some plants, like your goldenrod, you're not going to be able to harvest but right now. And here it is, it's August. Almost September, and this is the time for me to go out and harvest goldenrod. And goldenrod makes excellent medicine, and I'll do a video on that later. So you want to use your fresh plant matter when you're making your folk medicine for a tincture. You don't want to dry. Again, drying gives you a whole different, you don't have all of the constituents in the fresh when you dry. And we want all of the plant's goodness. We want everything in this when I make that tincture. I'm going to take a quart jar because I know I'll go through a lot of this. I'm going to take, after I harvest the leaves, the needles, excuse me, off the tree. You can cut these up just so that it will sit better in your jar. You're going to get a little bit of sappy on there. If you see some dead needles, you can pull those out. They're brown instead of green. I take my scissors and I'm cutting up little 1-inch pieces. And after I cut these up, I'll start filling my jar. And I'm going to fill my jar 2/3 of the way. And so we'll come back after I get them cut and fit into the jar. And I'll be back and we'll talk some more. All right, so I'm back, and again, I'd like to chop up the needles into a smaller bowl and then be able to take, because trying to chop into a jar, it's a little bit difficult. So this is 2/3 of the way full. I'm not pressing down, I'm just tapping gently, just making sure that the needles are down there, that there's not a hole, there's going to be a lot of air in there, but not a lot. And this is 2/3 of the way full, okay? So I've got a quart jar, I've got 2 of them I'm going to end up filling because I know I will go through a lot of this, and I have people that I help out, friends and family, and so I know that I'm going to need a lot of this. So when I do the fresh pine needle tincture, again, I'm harvesting the fresh needles, I'm chopping them up with the scissors, filling my jar. I'm going to cover it with 100 proof vodka. And as a believer, I know that the Lord has given us medicine, and so I use the 100 proof vodka, 50% alcohol, 50% water. This is what I'm going to pour over it. I always pray over my spirits and ask the Holy Spirit to bless my medicine. And this is something that I do, if that's what you want to do. So Jesus, I just ask that you bless this medicine, and Father, make it pure, clean, and holy so we can use it for your good and for the good of those around us. Thank you for medicine, and thank you for giving us all these plants. Thank you for making it possible for us to have fruit for our food and leaves for our medicine. So I'm going to open up this other one, remove the top so that it will pour easier. I don't go for the organic vodka. I'm not making it that, vodka's vodka. And so I'm not going to look for 100 proof organic vodka. I'm looking for 100 proof vodka. That's it. Let me get a chopstick, because we always need a chopstick, nothing metal. It's going to go in here, only wood, to kind of poke it around and release the air that's trapped in there. So I'll be right back with my chopstick. Okay, I'm back with the wooden chopstick, and I'm just going to move the needles around just to release the air. When we make our fresh plant matter tincture, we never want to leave head space, and so you always want to stir, leave a little room at first, stir, and then fill. Cap. And you're going to use your label to label it. Always label your plant medicine. And what I will put on that label will be pine needle tincture, where I got the pine needles, which is Highland Blueberry Farm. I will put down 100 proof vodka as my alcohol, and I will also put down today's date, and then I'm going to store this in a cool, dark place for 6 to 8 weeks, and at the end of 6 to 8 weeks, and I'll have the date on my label of when I need to decant this, then I'm going to pour the alcohol off the needles, strain it out, and then I'm going to bottle it up. When people often ask, you know, how many drops of tinctures do you take? You have to really listen to your own body. And so I like to tell people, start with 1 drop, see how you feel, see what it does. You can do 1 to 60 drops 3 times a day, but again, you are being your doctor. I work with the Holy Spirit. I work with the Lord. God, what do I need? What does this person need? And so learn to start asking yourself, learn to start checking in. God, is this the medicine that I need? Is this what I need to be taking? And if not, show me the medicine that I am supposed to take. So taking this 3 times a day while you have symptoms shouldn't be taken prophylactically. You want to take this only when you have symptoms. So for people who are shedding, I would say you've got symptoms, you use that, right? If you've got a cold, flu, C19, then use this when the symptoms appear. It is a powerful astringent, antiseptic, an analgesic, and an expectorant. So this is powerful medicine that we have going on here. Again, the suramin or shikimic acid it boosts your immune system to help you get over that cold, flu, or C19 quicker. It also gives relief of heart disease, so any heart ailments that you have, varicose veins, muscle fatigue. We're seeing good results with muscle fatigue, sclerosis, kidney ailments, promotes strength of nerves in your eyes. So if you're having nerve issues in your eyes, you definitely want to check out the pine needle, and if that's what you're supposed to be taking. Eye-related ailments that concern connective muscles in the eye. So again, do your research, check it out, but this is what it's good for. We also have it listed for gangrene. Reacts with smooth muscles that line blood vessels, regulates blood pressure, prevents blood clots, protects DNA and RNA, and improves circulation. So that's what pine needle brings to the table for us to take as plant medicine. Again, I'm going to let this sit in a cool, dark place for 6 to 8 weeks, strain it off, and then we're going to have medicine. I want to talk just a little bit more about the pine needle tea, especially for those who are taking it because of shedding. So we're going to take 1/3 of a cup of the chopped pine needles and 2 cups of boiled water and let it steep 10 to 15 minutes. If you can't get the pine needles, go out and harvest it yourself. Star anise also has similar properties, but please, please, please look for organic. Try to find local. Germany and China don't have real good reputations for organic, and so you want to just really keep all of that in mind. So a star anise will also help have the shikimic acid in it. It will help with the shedding. So that's it. Pine needle tea or pine needle tincture. And you need to have this on hand. There are people that you can order this from that make it, and you can order it from them, but you can also do it yourself. Listen, God gave us these plant medicines. He gave us these plants to make medicines. We can do this ourselves. We can totally do this ourselves. We don't need to just rely on other people. You are perfectly capable of making this yourself. If I can do it and I can teach others to do it, you can do it. So, all right, well, that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, please reach out, share, let me know if I can do anything, answer any questions. Other than that, don't forget to label and store it for 6 to 8 weeks, and then bottle it up. All right, everybody have a great day. It's a beautiful day outside here at Highland Blueberry Farm. And I just want to give a shout out to the New Jersey couple that came to visit. Danielle and her husband came up here and visit us at the farm, and it was a beautiful day for them to go out and just see where the blueberries were on the ground, because we have low wild Maine blueberries, and got to have some great conversation, and looking forward to maybe one day seeing them again back up here. So, hey guys, thanks for stopping by. You really blessed me. And all of you who joined in on the YouTube channel and checked out this video, thank you for coming, and thank you for checking it out. And I hope you get out there and try to make your own medicine. All right, have a great day, everybody.